I'm Josh. You're supposed to say your name.
Billy.
No, your name. You're Gizmo.
Billy.
Your name's Gizmo. I'm sorry. Got a little roots there for a second. But this is Alter Ego Comics TV. I want to apologize first off for missing the episode last week. Mark was out the back half of the week with illness and being short-staffed. We couldn't get one out. And this week, Mark has forsaken us to go to the Comics Pro meeting in Memphis, which is a sort of guild of independent comic shops that get together to discuss issues of the day and work towards a common goal of making sure comics are awesome for many years to come. This little guy is the new Gizmo puppet from NECA, and it's just wicked adorable. But you didn't come here to see me play with toys. If you'd like to see me play with toys, no. Tell in the comments below. We can get a separate show going where Josh plays with puppets. So starting off, before he left, Mark told me his pick of the week, and it is Super Sons #1, surprising absolutely no one. This is written by Pete Tomasi with art by Phil Jimenez. And this picks up a little bit of threads that have been going on in the main Superman book, also written by Peter Tomasi, where Damian Wayne and John Kent are hanging out and being super together. Basically, it's a middle school version of Superman and Batman, and it is epic. Jimenez's artwork is really fun and playful. And just the differences in personality between the two of them, seeing them where they gel and where they don't gel, seeing the qualities that they represent from their fathers and the qualities that are fundamentally different about them, just makes it a lot of fun. Tomasi writing John Kent is one of the best parts of Rebirth in the Superman series. This week's issue of Superman was no exception. It was also awesome. It's a John solo story that almost has like a Stephen King feel, very kind of gothic horror, middle of nowhere awesomeness with a boy with powers of Superman, or some of the powers of Superman. But Super Sons is great. If you're enjoying Superman, that's a no-brainer. You want to check it out. If you're not, if you, for example, enjoyed Batman and Robin during the back half of the New 52, that was featuring Damian and also written by Peter Tomasi. So you're going to enjoy the portrayal of Damian here as well. Just great book on all accounts. My pick of the week is Sex Criminals number 16, subtitled Goals. One of the goals is butt stuff. That's a spoiler, I suppose. But Sex Criminals has been on hiatus for quite a while, 8 months, 9 months, something like that. But we're back in great form, and in the letters page at the back, they promise to keep it regular, to keep it coming out on a more common basis, maybe monthly even. But we do get a really cool previously on, basically, section at the front, and that's in addition to the normal-sized comic we've got here. We've got, 8 or 9 pages, maybe? No, it's less than that. 7 or 8 pages of basically giving you the whole rundown of what's going on in Sex Criminals, and it's done in a wonderfully playful way. You could really pick this up, read that, and then just go with the book. You shouldn't, though. You should read all of them because they are brilliant and funny and touching. And that's the big thing about Sex Criminals. Despite the title, despite the pitch that it's about people who stop time when they orgasm using that power to rob banks, it's really about relationships between people. It's about exploration of yourself and your relationships with others and the way people work. And it's just an amazing book written by Matt Fraction, art by Chip Zdarsky, and it has consistently the funniest letters page in comics. Or letters pages, as I were. There's usually 5 or 6 in each issue. Since we didn't do a show last week, we're hitting stuff from both last week and this week. We've got God Country 2. If you remember, I was kind of crazy about the first issue of God Country, written by Donnie Cates with art by Jeff Shaw. And the pitch was, it's about a guy with Alzheimer's, or, well, I'm not sure they call it that, some degenerative illness where he's got dementia, he doesn't know where he is, what's going on, he doesn't recognize his family, and he's causing problems for everyone. His house is semi-destroyed by a magic sword falling from the sky, and when the guy touches the sword, he's himself again. He's cogent, and he remembers things, and he's here again. And then that was pretty much the end of the previous issue. This kicks off with the questions about where the sword comes from, and when you have giant magical swords falling from space, usually that means someone has lost them, and someone shows up looking to claim the sword, and we see how he responds. And it's great. If you like stories about magic swords, this is easily the best one that came out this week. If you like kind of family drama, personal sketch of life stuff, it's really good. It's got some neat overtones of books like Southern Bastards, because it is sort of a he follows a code that would not necessarily be common in today's society. He's an older guy and he thinks like an older guy, and he decides to use this new power like an older guy would, and it's just a lot of fun. Very cool second issue. Image Comics is firing on all cylinders this week. New number 1 from DC, from DC we'll say, is called The Wildstorm, written by Warren Ellis with art by John Davis Hunt with someone else. Colors by Ivan Placencia, we're going to say. And this is Warren Ellis. Basically, DC gave Warren Ellis the keys to the kingdom and are allowing him to, we'll say, rebirth. We'll use it like it's a verb. The Wildstorm universe into its own sort of pocket of titles. It doesn't look like it's directly related to any of the core DCU. And the Wildstorm universe, of course, was famously Jim Lee's baby from Image back in the day, and has gone through many different iterations and changes since. And giving Ellis the ability to kind of craft his own story over time is very cool. If you've been reading any DC books the last several weeks, there are interviews with him in the back for 2 or 3 pages talking about his vision for it, his long-term plan. It looks like it's going to be a total of 4 titles, but they're going to be introducing them slowly as they kind of expand the world. And the initial plot arc is spanning over, I think, 2 years to introduce those 4 titles. So he's definitely got a long-term goal here, and the initial effort is really, really cool. I like the way that they're taking things that we already knew from the Wildstorm universe, but you don't really need any knowledge. Like there are things that are, at least superficially or in name, similar to the old way of doing things, old characters and interactions you might recognize from the Wildstorm verse, but it's all in a new context. It's twisted a few degrees to the right. It's about technology and government organizations and deep black ops and wheels within wheels and conspiracies and aliens, and it's really, really cool. But honestly, I don't know why I'm still talking. If the words Warren Ellis and Wildstorm were enough to get you to want to read it, you probably don't want to read it. But if either of those does anything for you, you should check it out. Last week, we got Justice League of America Rebirth number 1. This is written by Steve Orlando and art by Ivan Reis, one of the great pencilers in DC's stable. You may remember him from Blackest Night. And Orlando's been banging it out of the park on several smaller titles for the last couple of years. And this one's got Justice League in the title, which is the biggest thing you can get at DC, generally speaking. So spinning out of Justice League Suicide Squad, Batman has decided that people need to see a team of regular heroes. Basically, his distinction was not gods, like Superman and Wonder Woman and The Flash, people with power borderline unimaginable. So he's assembled this team, or throughout the course of this issue, assembles this team, or has... Basically, Batman picks people, and it's sort of like a domino effect. Each person kind of goes and gets the next person. So we wind up with the Ray, who we just saw. Actually, several of these characters we saw in Justice League of America one-shots in the last couple weeks, all written or co-written by Steve Orlando. So we've got the Ray, Black Canary, the Atom, and this is Ryan Choi Atom, Killer Frost, Lobo, and Vixen. And it's an eclectic mix. It's a cool mission. I like that they've set up the motivations for the different characters uniquely, because obviously what it takes to get Killer Frost or Vixen to do something is not the same thing it's going to take to get Lobo to do something. And it's a Batman-led Justice League team. Those are always awesome. I love Justice League International back in the day. I liked several incarnations of Batman and the Outsiders. And that's what we're getting here. I'm super excited to see where Orlando takes it. New this week, we've got Batwoman Rebirth number 1, written or co-written by Marguerite Bennett and James Tynion. You may remember James Tynion from the Detective Comics run in Rebirth that we've been raving about, and which prominently featured Batwoman as a member of Batman's team. And this is really good. I I go back and forth on these Rebirth one-shots. I hate the logistics of it, because when someone comes in and is like, oh, I got that Rebirth Flash #1. Well, did you get Rebirth #1 Flash, or is it Flash #1 from the Rebirth series? It just creates confusion that's entirely unnecessary. But the way the stories are structured and chunked, I really like. I like that there's this issue that if you know nothing about Batwoman, will tell you everything you need to know. But it also, if you're already familiar with it, tells you what this Batwoman's about. You know, everybody's story is different. You know, Mark Waid's Flash is not the same as Jeff Johns' Flash. It's not the same as the current Joshua Williamson Flash. They're the same core character, but they're seen through a different lens through the writer. And so a rebirth that kind of allows longtime fans to be oriented and see exactly where they want this to go is really helpful. And of course, obviously, a new person needs to know this information just to follow the book. And so we get lots of stuff about Kate Kane. I do not claim to be the world's biggest Batwoman expert, but there are several things in here I don't remember from her history. So these may be new revelations or minor ones I wasn't aware of. We do get to see her interact with some people who have famously been in her history. Looking at you, Renee Montoya. And it does set up where the series is going to go. Basically, the issue almost ends with Batman giving her a mission somewhere she's going, and we also get some prophetic looks into the future about where Kate's story is going. So, yeah, Batwoman Rebirth, I have every confidence is going to be a great book. And especially if you've been enjoying her appearances in Detective, it's definitely... And then Gizmo died. It's okay. I can fix that. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. Last up on the trade front, we've got 7 to Eternity Volume 1. This is written by Rick Remender with art by Jerome Opeña. Consistently the prettiest book since it started coming out. Opeña's artwork is amazing. And Remender's written a lot of different things. He tends more towards the science fiction or towards more kind of human stories, and sometimes stories that are both. But this is way out there fantasy mixed with some kind of post-Western iconography. And it is really, really great. I mean, I think this is good for almost anyone. But if you're fans of Firefly or Sandman or almost anything, it's just a gorgeous book with really compelling and engaging characters. The twists and turns that Remender puts into the story and the things he gives. Nobody has like a straight out motive. They're all different characters with different personalities and different histories. And introducing a whole universe and setting and getting it so that I really care what happens at the end by 4 issues is tough. Like all Image #1s, this is only $9.99, even though as a 4-issue book, I think at least 2, possibly 3 of the issues that are collected in here are oversized, so it's still a very sizable chunk of story for $9.99. And it is amazing. This is, if you have any connection to the fantasy realm or to magic or any affection for beautiful, beautiful, weird landscapes and creatures, this is something you do not want to miss. So, 7 to Eternity Volume 1, The God of Whispers. And that is it. There were so many great books the last couple of weeks. We got the conclusion of the Clone Conspiracy over in Spider-Man, or well, in Clone Conspiracy 5, that was incredibly satisfying and also set up the forthcoming stuff in with the return of Norman Osborn and the forthcoming Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider book. And just a number of amazing titles. Comics are really great and awesome, and that is what I needed you to know. So I just wanted to pop on today, give you my picks for the last couple of weeks, and let you know that we haven't forgotten about you, and we will be back on our regular schedule next week. So, take care.